Welcome to our podcast, Your.Future, where we talk about career after Euroculture. I am your host today, Jody van Toff, and I am joined by my co-host, Hannah.
Hello. I'm Hannah Voss, and today we are talking with Camilla Portasani. We'll discuss how she gained her position as a PhD student. Camilla, would you give us a little introduction to yourself?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Camilla Portasani. I am half French and half Italian. I am, as you said, currently a PhD candidate for the University of Luxembourg. I'll be starting my PhD the 3rd of May. That will last approximately 3 to 4 years, where I'll be mostly focusing on bringing public history practices inside the museumscape.
Okay, thank you very much. Could you also maybe tell us which universities you went to during your time in Euroculture?
Absolutely. I started in 2018 at the Strasbourg University, where I also attended and obtained my bachelor. Then I decided to go to the Netherlands for my second semester, so I spent it in Groningen, where I really had a great experience and enjoyed my time there so much. During the third one, I struggled a little bit finding an internship, but finally managed to find an internship in Strasbourg, thanks to the help of a few professors. And then I went back to Groningen for the final semester, which lasted a bit longer because of coronavirus. So I just graduated last September and I started straight away elaborating my profile a bit as a researcher and started applying for different PhD positions. And in January, I finally got the response.
That's great. You already mentioned what project you are working on, and you haven't started yet, but if you can, could you tell us a bit more about what exactly you're gonna research and how your day-to-day life might look, or what you think it will be like?
I'm really excited for this new experience because it really sounds super stimulating. Basically, public history, it's kind of a brand new discipline. It's been established less than 50 years ago, and it studies a more practical application of history inside different domains, which can touch institutions, but also education, urbanism. Plenty of field can be connected to public history. It is really a practice that tries to open up history to a wider public. My missions will work and collaborate directly with a few museums. For example, the Museum of the 20th Century, which is in Venice, the House of European History in Brussels, the Museum of the City of Luxembourg as well. I'm going to have to work with them in a very close collaboration to obtain a new exhibition or change an existing one into something which will be more open to the public, more inclusive, more attentive to untold stories or voices which haven't really been heard until today. Together with this, I will be working on my PhD dissertations. I think I already kind of have the topic. It would be further developing what I already studied and searched for during the master, basically the representation of colonial past in museums. There will also be some teaching inside the university as assistant professor. I think throughout the whole project, those will be the main missions, and then probably I will be still asked to do some extra research, for example, for the whole research group, or collaborate with different research areas. A lot of different and interesting stimuli, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still very diverse in tasks and things you're doing, actually. Okay, moving on to Hannah. Do you have questions?
Yeah, I was wondering, so one of the great things about Euroculture is that it has a very, very wide reach and you can do so much with it. And you mentioned that you were interested in the history of colonialism during your master's, but how did you narrow it down to something like museum studies? How did that process look like, and did you look at other things as well?
Well, first of all, I never thought about doing a PhD before writing a thesis. I have always been interested in history, museums. I have a double bachelor in history of art and languages, and I always tried to bring it up even during the master, which was clearly focused on different subjects like human rights, European constitutions and laws. And I was also very interested in this side of more human perspective of history. I think the biggest challenge for the thesis was try to combine these interests and put them together in a sort of research topic or research question that I could develop, which would touch both arts and museums together with human rights. And that's when I started questioning myself a bit on the role of museums and on how we perceive them as a society. I started questioning myself a bit more about what's behind the curtains. We see an exhibition, we have contact with a certain narrative that has been established and constructed for us by the museum. And that's when the matters of like inclusion or just representation or the right to be voiced came up. And I think that's a bit where I managed to bring these museum studies inside the master. And then I was very lucky because our professors, together with my supervisors, which were both external. So the one from the University of Strasbourg is Professor Roberto Dagnino, and he's the director of the Department of Dutch Studies. And then Professor Leonieke Vermeer was my Dutch supervisor. She's an historian, has studied a lot museums and history representations. And then it was together with them that while I was elaborating the thesis, they thought it had a lot of potential. My research was actually coming up in a pretty nice way. They saw I was really passionate and interested in what I was trying to study and define. So that's when the first idea of pursuing a PhD career came up. So it was thanks to my supervisors. They also actually helped me find PhD positions which would work for me. They followed when I prepared all my documents, and they even sent me some applications that they had heard of. Teachers have a huge network of these type of proposals, and that's actually how I found out about the University of Luxembourg. It was thanks to Roberto Dagnino. Yeah, I think that just went very well. I followed the conference of the research center because I wanted to see a bit what they were doing and also what their philosophy was. After the conference, I decided to prepare my application and sent it straight away. I had an interview after a few weeks and then another one. That was it.
That's great. I was going to actually ask you if Euroculture helped you, programs or people specifically had helped you choose this path or gain this position, and obviously it did. Did you apply to any other PhD programs or did you just apply for this one?
Yes, no, I applied for 3 more in the Netherlands. One was the University of Groningen. Another one was Open University from Amsterdam. Third one was at the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam too. And then I also applied to a fellowship that is a 9-month contract proposed by the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, which was the museums that I researched for the thesis. But I wasn't selected for either of them. But what's really important to say is that the teachers from Groningen, they all helped me so much, read my applications, gave me suggestions for the topics. And also once I had the response from Luxembourg, and of course I told them because they were present throughout the whole process and I couldn't just not tell them and not share the news. And when I did tell them, they cherished so much and they were like genuinely happy for me, and they asked to keep in touch and to keep them posted about the developments of my research and showed a lot of interest. I'm really, really grateful because I think that without their help, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now.
Yeah, it's great to have a support system like that. I think it's good to fail. You're not failing, but you're getting rejected for an application. Yes. It means that you're going outside your comfort zone and you're aiming high. Yeah, sometimes you won't get it, but at least you know where you stand. And I think it's always good to step outside of your comfort zone. And I see that you speak 6 languages: French, English, Italian, Dutch, Portuguese, and German.
Yeah.
In your PhD search, did languages come up a lot? Was that a very important part of museum studies?
It was the first question that I was asked when I had the interview. The head director of the research center asked me, is like, how come you speak so many languages? So my mom is French. Actually, she's Portuguese and then she immigrated in France. So there you go with 2 languages. And then my dad is Italian and I was born and raised in Italy. And then I studied languages in high school and in bachelor. And that's where I got English, German, and Dutch. But I assume that I will be using mostly French, Portuguese, and English. And then since we have Italian partners, for example, with the museum in Venice, then I think I will be able to use Italian as well. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, I think Jody is going to ask you some questions, and we're going to talk about how the Euroculture program actually helped you prepare for this.
Yes, we have covered already some of the things about how Euroculture prepared you for your PhD. For example, that you realized you wanted to do a PhD in the first place. How did you come to that realization?
So, as I was saying, firstly popped in my head while I was writing the thesis, mainly because I chose a huge topic. The representation of the colonial past is something that start discussing now and probably finish in 2 weeks' time. And I felt so passionate about what I was studying, and I think it was really the first time where I didn't feel like it was a homework or a duty. I got more and more into the subject, the more I was reading and the more I was delving into it, and the more I got interested. Also, my professors were so enthusiastic about it and so supportive. They believed so much in my research that they decided to engage even themselves in my research for PhD. And also, I think the pandemic, for a bit of time, I was really confused about what to do next because it was really at the beginning of it. I didn't really know what was going to happen. Working possibilities just disappear all of a sudden. And then this world opened up to me. This is an opportunity for me to continue doing what I just discovered that I love doing. And at the beginning, I also told myself I can give it a try, take 1 year to prepare the applications. Once I sent all the applications, I was really hoping for the one in Luxembourg to work because I felt like the research center was really perfect for me. It was the place where I could exploit most of my skills, more or less. So I think that's pretty much it. But I'd say it was, something that wasn't really present before. And then I just felt like it was the right thing and wondered why I hadn't come up with it before.
Yeah, it is really reassuring to hear that you had such a positive experience with the thesis because it can be quite daunting to have to write such a big project. But yeah, we had other interviews as well where they were also very positive about the thesis, and I think it's also because if you choose something you really love. Then a question that's maybe more general about the Euroculture program. Which of the Euroculture's classes and events had the greatest impact on your PhD choosing or
Definitely the first semester in Strasbourg, it's a lot of focus on human rights. It really raised my interest, more specifically made me aware of a lot of problematic situations around the world and a lot of injustice still happening and a lot of unjust representations still happening. So I'd say that first opened my eyes a little bit more towards the reality that it's surrounding us. And then project management course in Groningen, where we were asked to organize an event for a association that works with refugee children. Basically asks them to draw their journey and to tell their history through drawings. We organized an exhibition with these drawings inside university. It was my first contact with practices of public history. I didn't even realize it back in the day, but now I really see it as my first experience in the domain of public history, trying to open up these untold stories to a wider audience and try to bring in these voices in the narrative that we all share. I'd say mainly these ones, but overall it was also the general concept behind the choices of Euroculture. They really try to give us the widest possible vision on different topics. So interdisciplinary, we have courses that touches so many fields. It just allows you to have a wider perspective also of disciplines afterwards.
That's great. Hannah, do you have any concluding questions?
Yeah, so you have the next few years of your life mapped out, working on this big project, which I'm sure will be super interesting. But have you thought about what you'd like to do after your PhD?
A little bit, yes. It's still far away, but ideally, I would consider myself very lucky if I was able to keep on traveling a little bit. Of course, always maybe work related, but yeah, it's something that I feel like I need to keep on doing in my life. So I hope that it will allow me to have different experiences in different countries. Honestly, for now, if I look in the future, I see myself teaching probably in university. I hope I'll be able to continue researching and learning.
That's great. And do you have any last words that you'd like to say to the Euroculture students who are still trying to discover what they'd like to do with their lives?
Well, my first suggestion is hang in there. You'll find the answers you're looking for. Most of the time, you already have them. It's just that you need to focus and find them concretely. I would also give you some motivation for the final semester because I also experienced writing my first thesis during the first lockdown ever. We were so scared and felt super lonely, and it was really hard to focus some days. But don't be afraid to reach out for help from your classmates or friends or family, or even the teachers, the professors. They can really surprise you with, the way they can help and support you and your research. So we're dealing with some unprecedented time right now, but everyone is. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm sure that you'll do great. So many great things are waiting ahead of you because we're lucky to have done this program. It is such an enriching experience. We step out of our comfort zone basically every day during 2 years, and that teaches so much. I'm sure that even if it's still a bit hard, and I'm sure you still have some tough months ahead, just keep working, you'll get there.
Thank you so much. I agree. Living outside of your comfort zone is a very important skill to have.
Yeah, thank you for talking. It was really interesting. And good luck on your first day as a PhD student.
Thank you, and good luck to you.